back, baby.
Offense, you know what to do.
It's football time in Tennessee.
Get me Tennessee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 1796 Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Normal Vol Fan, joined alongside with Ryan. No Eli today, but we're going to get through it. NC State. Well, we went to their state and we put belt to booty. Belt to booty. I guess that's how you could say it. Boo Carter. I mean, he predicted it, the day before. Tennessee wins 51-10. NC State had 140 total offensive yards, which was, kind of generous. Concepcion was not a factor. Grayson McCall looked like a not even average quarterback. I mean, Tennessee's defense was that they kind of brought Tennessee to the point where it's like, do you start talking about Tennessee as an elite team at this point? But I was at the game, so I didn't get to really see everything that you guys saw. So, Ryan, tell me some things that really stood out to you.
Yeah. The domination that Tennessee, had over NC State was kind of expected at least on this show, but I don't think any of us expected the domination to be that thorough and throughout all of the game. Like the complimentary football displayed in the third quarter, the middle eight, as they call it, the first 4 minutes of third quarter, last 4 minutes before halftime, is where Tennessee won the game, which Josh Heupel has become an expert at. I mean, and to be honest, Tennessee on offense probably played a B to B plus game. There was a lot of points that we left out there. Of course, you had the 2 interceptions by Nico, but we'll talk about how he rebounded from those mistakes. But again, just the domination, it was stark. Like it against a ranked team is something that Tennessee has not done in a while. I mean, early on, people were saying, "Oh, is this going to be like the Pittsburgh game from 2 years ago?" After NC State got it to 7-3, but no, it wasn't. It very much was not.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Tennessee handled business. Honestly, I was not one of those guys. Again, we talked about it on the preview podcast. I think the game was exactly how we thought. Obviously, the offense didn't play to the standard we thought it was going to be, but the defense, man. I mean, that defensive front we got is going to be problems for everybody we face, even Georgia. I'm still not at the point where I'm like, hey, I think that game's going to be the game of the year, to be honest.
Yeah.
If we play the right way. But when you, going back to the Pittsburgh ordeal, I think Desmond Howard said it the best was Tennessee's going to win big. There was no question about it. I think Tennessee was the far superior team on both sides of the ball, really. And, I think this team has shown, even though NC State's not as good as everyone thought they were, I think Tennessee's going to be on the map this year. I think this year is going to be more special than the 2022 year was.
Yeah. I mean, NC State could very well end up being a good team in the ACC. I just really think Tennessee is that good this year. Like, I said it on the preview pod. We have a chance to finally pair an elite defense with a good to elite offense for the first time under Heupel. And I think we saw a little bit of that on Saturday night. Like I said, the offense wasn't perfect. Everybody knows that, but they certainly did enough. I mean, you win by 41 points. So I wanted to just jump right into the Nico talk, if you don't mind. I mean, I think the biggest thing that you can say for Nico in this game, the mistakes he had, the first interception over the middle, you could argue that Brew could have finished that route a little bit better. But either way, the pick ended up happening, and then Nico came out and led us to a field goal in the very next drive. The second interception, not entirely Nico's fault. He could have done a little bit better job, I guess, stepping up into the pocket or just taking the sack. But again, after the pick six goes against the Vols, he goes out and leads Tennessee to another touchdown drive. So the bounce back by Nico to recover from his mistakes and just to have the mistakes in a game where they're not, going to cost you too much, I think is very big and a very good sign moving forward.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like you were saying, Nico made mistakes, but didn't let it get to him. And the biggest thing about it was when Holly Rowe was giving the post game interview, is he even said it. I tried fitting it into a really tight spot. I shouldn't have, done that or whatever he said. Being humble about it. He knows he's going to make mistakes. I mean, that's not going to be the only mistakes he makes all year. But like you said, as long as you can keep it from being messing up the outcome of the game, then there's no problem. I think this defense is really going to help with that problem because in the past, even in 2022 with Hendon Hooker, if you give this defense to that team, I think we win a national championship. I mean, it's just incredible. And I think this offense is going to still figure it out. I still think this is Austin Price said it best, really. I mean, that was a C- for an offensive standpoint with Tennessee. Imagine having that defense with an A offensive performance. I mean, you're looking at a game where we might have scored 60 plus points. I don't know what else to say. Offensive wise, it's not really like a wow factor. You could say, who really impressed me, other than Dylan Sampson, of course. I mean, Dylan Sampson, we might have to start talking about a Heisman race for Dylan Sampson. That kid is going to put up some nasty numbers. But a guy who on offense that really impressed me was Deshaun Bishop. Yeah. I mean, for the little bit of opportunity he had to come in the game because Cam Seldon was out this game. Bro, this guy is so patient when he runs the ball. He finds the hole and, he gets where he's got to be. But I'm telling you, this kid is going to be something good, man. I think Deshaun Bishop is going to be the next guy after Dylan Sampson leaves, or one of the two guys, because we always have at least two. But
yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, a lot of the talk about the offenses, they weren't their best, but NC State runs that 3-3-5 where they drop 6, 7, sometimes even 8 people into coverage. So Nico and company were just taking what they were given and making it happen no matter what. And I really want to talk about the drive out of halftime where you had a couple third down conversions where Nico made perfect reads. And then you had the fourth down conversion where Nico kept it, another perfect read, got up the field and got the first down. And then that beautiful wide open pass to Kitzelman, which leads into this. I mean, Heupel and his 2 tight end sets in this game with Kitzelman and Stays, Ethan Davis. I mean, the tight ends showed out, and that's not something NC State was expecting, obviously. Dave Doran said as much in his post-game comments. Tight ends had 6 catches, 71 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Kitzelman and Stays ended up with the touchdowns, but they let Ethan Davis catch a couple screen-type passes and get up the field because that fits his skill set the best. I mean, I was very impressed with that wrinkle from Josh Heupel.
Yeah, I love those little sneaky, especially the little toss play to Dylan Sampson on a 3rd and long to get the first down. I mean, when we're talking about offense, I mean, we all know Josh Heupel's going to have a good offense.
Mm-hmm.
But we were held back because of Joe Milton. I hate to say it because Joe Milton's great. I love Joe Milton, but you could just tell how good this offense can be when they're on point. and obviously there's gonna be mistakes, but like Tennessee with this defense on a B plus A offense kind of day. Oh, I mean, this team. I mean, everyone was saying it yesterday. Even NC State fans. Tennessee is a top 5 team in the country right now.
Yeah, I mean the AP has us 7th now, and I think we're just going to keep climbing. I think that Tennessee should be favored 2 weeks from now in Norman if they're not already, with the way Oklahoma struggled with Houston. But talking a little bit more about the offense, I mean, we all said as much in the preview. If you're able to run the ball, which Tennessee is always going to be able to run the ball in this offense, come hell or high water, I think it's 25 out of 40 something games now where Josh Heupel's offenses ran for over 200 yards. Like, it's incredible. I mean, this is a run based offense, a power running offense, no matter which way you cut it. And they ran for 249 yards on almost 6 yards a carry. And we said last week, Nico didn't have to use his legs against Chattanooga for obvious reasons, just not worth it. But 8 carries for 65 yards with the cherry on top being that beautiful, amazing, sensual quarterback draw on that third down where he just he could
31-yard touchdown, baby.
he could have crawled into the end zone.
Literally, there was literally no one in his way.
Yeah, and the pulling guard, I think it was Spraggins on that play, just took out the only defender who had a chance. It was a thing of beauty. But moving on to the defense, I mean, we've touched on it already. Like, I think the number one thing that's helping this defense to this point in the season, the depth is unlike anything Tennessee has had since I don't even know how long. We can rotate on the defensive line like no other team. We can rotate linebackers in and out. Secondary, I don't know what was happening because it wasn't even relevant. The front 7 was getting up the field and causing havoc. So, what was your opinion on the defense overall, Jim?
I mean, like I said, this defense looks elite. And a lot of people will still not bring up our DBs, but Jamar McCoy was very good. I mean, you could say all you want. I mean, Grayson McCall had plenty of time to throw a lot of passes. I mean, he was obviously getting rushed, but he had time to throw. But a lot of times, guys just weren't open. And the one time they had a deep pass, I think their deepest pass was 28 yards or 24 yards to Concepcion. But that was when Boo Carter was matched up on him one-on-one, and he got that 20-yard pass. But I think the DBs are not. I mean, I'm not going to say they're good yet, to where I'm comfortable being oh no, we have a good secondary. But they're proving themselves a little bit because Concepcion was a non-factor. I mean, the dude had 5 receptions, 53 yards, and same thing. Justin Jolie, he had 4 receptions, 30 yards. And then nobody else did anything. I mean, we all know the defensive line's just nasty. We could talk about them all day long. To me, they're, if not the best line in the country, but I think they're a top 3 line in the country. But shout out to the DBs, man. Shout out to Will Brooks. Will Brooks, Mr. Walk-On with a pick 6 to really, I mean, that play really turned the momentum. Once that happened, you could feel it in the crowd. Everyone was like, "Yep, here comes Tennessee. That's it." But everyone was talking about this defense, man. Keenan Peely leads this team so well. Even on that pick 6, that dude was running down the sidelines, blocked the one guy that could potentially get to Will Brooks, and shoved him in the dirt.
Yeah.
And this team, dude, it's a culture. Even on offense, when the play was done, whistle was blown, Spraggins and Campbell are shoving a dude onto the bench of the NC State sideline. It's a culture thing. This team's special, and I think the way I look at it is, if Tennessee could go to Norman and win, I think the sky's the limit. I think the sky's the limit with this team.
Yeah. I mean, NC State converted 3 third downs on their first drive. And then on the after that third down conversion, Omar Norman Lott sacked McCall for like a 9-yard loss. Tennessee got off the field. And then the rest of the game, they did not convert another third down, and that included 2 fourth down stops as well. 2 fourth and 1 stops. I mean, I cannot talk enough about how the defensive line dominated the game. I mean, they were swatting balls, getting penetration, and on one of those third downs, I think it was the one right before halftime. Amari Thomas made a play on their running back on a little play in the flat and ran him down from the defensive line spot. Like that's the kind of effort that you're alluding to with the talking about the culture. I mean, how often do you see that? A defensive line making a play on a running back in the flat. I mean, and by means of them getting penetration, the linebackers and Carter and Peely and T-Lander like got downhill and smeared anybody coming out of the backfield. And like you said earlier, the secondary keeping Concepcion in check, a guy who's expected to be a star, caught over 1,000 yards last year receiving, ran for 300 yards last year. I mean, he's a playmaker. And besides that weird little trick play that you talked about, where they got him lined up on Boo Carter and they had him running towards the line of scrimmage across the field, kind of at an angle. I mean, that's really the biggest noise he made. Tennessee ended up getting a stop on that drive as well. So defense is just unbelievable. I really think that could be the strength of this team.
Which I'm completely okay with. I mean, even Josh Heupel said it in the post-game interview. Tennessee is a defensive school.
Yeah.
I mean, Al Wilson, Reggie White, Eric Berry, he talked about it. And we've been saying it for the past, since Heupel's been here. We could get average to above average defense. This team is going to be nasty. And I think we finally have it. And it's only going to go up from here. I mean, he's finally getting the players he recruited and he wanted. But overall, defense playing great. We won the game. Like I said, we won this game 51-10. And shout out to the defense. They have yet to give up a touchdown this year. I mean, absolutely crazy. And I think they're going to make it a thing. I think they're going to go all out against Kent State and keep it as tight as they can. I mean, if I'm a player, I ain't trying to give up a touchdown.
No.
I mean, and, this game would have been more out of hand if that pick six didn't happen. It would have been probably 58-3.
Yeah. Speaking of that, did you realize Tennessee's offense has given up more points than Tennessee's defense this year?
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, and one more guy I want to shout out too, Max Gilbert. I mean, dude's got a boot. He's got a boot, and I know he missed the 53-yarder with like 3 minutes left in the game, but like from 45 to the 36 to 32, they were right down the middle. Excellent kicks. But anyways, Max Gilbert, awesome job. I think he's the best kicker we've had for a while. But I wanted to ask you, all right, pick one guy on offense and defense where they surprised you in a good way from this game.
For offense, I think I'm going to give it to Miles Kitselman. He caught 3 balls. He should have had 2 touchdowns because whoever they called the man downfield on was not down the field on that Nico improvisation play in the third quarter or early in the fourth quarter. But I'm going to give it to Kitselman for offense. I think he played awesome. And on defense, I mean, I don't see how you couldn't give it to one of the D linemen. Take your pick. I mean, Amari Thomas, Tyree West, Norman Lott. I'd probably lean towards Amari Thomas, though.
Kitselman was an absolute stud. I mean, everyone knew when he came from Alabama. When you get recruited to go to Alabama, everyone knows you're a good player. It's the same thing when you go to any SEC school, really. But you're right. I mean, I agree. I was going to say Kitselman as well. Blocking wise, the way he got open when he had to, I think Kitselman really stood out. And uh, even though 3 receptions, 39 yards, and a touchdown, he should have had 2. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I mean that play where that they called back was bogus.
Yeah, and you went with Big O on the defensive side.
Yeah, I think he was the best player on the defensive line, which I thought was the hands down best unit last night.
Oh yeah, for sure. Really, I'm trying to, like I said, Jamar McCoy like really stood out to me because now I understand the defensive line was stellar and getting to the quarterback, causing pressure and stuff. But like even when you're causing pressure, if guys are getting open, I mean they could figure out ways to get the ball to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm shouting out Jamar McCoy and even the secondary. Like obviously we're talking about Will Brooks. I think Will Brooks is playing really well. I hope he stays playing that well. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna shout out Jamar McCoy. I think he's the closest thing to what we're gonna get to a Kamal Hadden. I think
Yeah,
I think he reminds me a lot of him, and he has good experience. I mean, he started all year last year, so um, yeah, that's who I'm gonna go forward with on defense. Now, I do want to shout out Squirrel White on a couple of those punt returns. He's looking really good when it comes to that. Good decision making on fair catches and deciding to run because boy, that man is fast. That kid is
yeah.
so fast. Um, but yeah, now I do want to talk. If you have anything else to talk about with the game wise, I do want to talk about the AP poll.
Mm-hmm. The last thing I'll say about the game is Jackson Ross one punt pinned him inside the 10. So shout out our Aussie punter Jackson Ross.
He's always been good. He's been good, and I feel like obviously as he gets to learn more about the game, he just gets better and better. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, let's talk about the AP poll. All right, now I'm shocked that we got 7 because I really thought we were gonna be at like outside the top 10, like 11 or even 10. But what do you think about it? Because obviously Georgia, Texas, I get. Ohio State, I get. But Alabama, they just really struggled with USF. And I don't know if it's just that school or Alex Golish or whatever, but they just didn't look like a team that you should be, I wouldn't say worried about. I don't know what the right word is, what to say, but I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, that final score was not indicative of how the game went down in Tuscaloosa at all. It got away from South Florida in the fourth quarter. I mean, they were down by 1 point for a lot of the game in the second half to Alabama. 1 point. And somehow they stay at 4. Meanwhile, they penalized Penn State.
And
Well, they
Oregon.
did. Yeah, I mean, Oregon beat a better team by 3, a team that would probably wipe the floor with South Florida in Boise State. I mean, I think the more ridiculous thing to me is that Missouri is still where they are, one spot ahead of us without playing a soul yet. I mean, is it really impressive to beat Buffalo 38-0? Like, I think that's a little bit more crazy to me. I can understand Ole Miss; they've dominated both games. And like you said, Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, that was never going to change until they lose a game. But I agree with Alabama. I haven't seen anything from them yet for Tennessee to not be, I'll go ahead and say it, favored in Neyland Stadium by the time that game comes around.
Well, yeah, I feel like and they also haven't had that test. I mean, they're going on the road to Wisconsin, and obviously, I still don't consider uh, Wisconsin a test per se. I mean, their environment is good, but Kalen DeBoer is in for a treat because if Tennessee is undefeated
Mm-hmm.
with Alabama coming to town, we already know how that goes. It is going to be an absolute madhouse, and not only that, I mean, Tennessee is just is good at what they do. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but like you said, I think Tennessee is going to be considered like to win that game. I mean, by honestly, if I would pick it right now, I'd say like 4.5 to 6.5.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think they'll be favored, and I don't know if it'll be that high. I'd probably lean something towards two and a
Three
half
and a
to
half.
3.5. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'll lean. Tennessee made the biggest jump in the AP poll that were in the AP poll last week too. I mean, you had, and this will lead into what I want to talk about next. Northern Illinois is now ranked number 25 because they went into Ann Arbor with $1.5 million in their back pocket on the way out and a W in their other back pocket on their way out.
Yeah, that was incredible. I didn't even know because my phone was dead this whole game pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but people were like, "Dude, Kentucky got slaughtered. Notre Dame lost. Alabama's losing." Like, while we're up, 51-10. I mean, there was almost no better day. If Bama would have lost, it would have been the best day ever. But I think realistically, even what I would have done is put Bama at 7. Uh, Even if you moved Ole Miss to 4 and Missouri to 5 and us to 6, that would have made more sense than what they did.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
I mean, to me, besides, where Tennessee is placed, moving up 7 spots, which is pretty good. I mean, I'll take it. I'm not complaining too much. But the other surprising thing about the poll is Oklahoma somehow stayed where they were after skirting by Houston as a 30-point favorite. Like, what in the world is going on in Norman? Like, they cannot score the ball.
Yeah, no, Oklahoma does not look good. And I don't know if it's the quarterback or just the team in general. They did lose their number one receiver
Mm-hmm.
for I think 6 weeks, right? Um, I I don't know. Actually, I'm gonna look it up right now, but I'm kind of interested in what the spread is for that game because I think it'll probably be the same, if not. I wouldn't say 9.5 like we were, towards the beginning of the game, but like opening up, I bet we're -6.5. Uh, if
Yeah.
that's my best guess.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson Arnold has yet to throw for over 200 yards against teams that, he should be able to throw for 200 yards against. I mean, I haven't seen the tape. I watched the ending of that game against Houston, but I would assume it's because the offensive line is as advertised, which is, if it was advertised correctly, and I'm making the right assumption, is terrible. And you put a terrible O line against Tennessee's front, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we're 6.5 or even more favored in
You want
in,
to hear
in that
something
game.
funny?
Yeah.
OU's the favorite.
Oh Lord. Well, I guess because they're at
They're
home.
well. I mean, usually I think the way the betting odds work is I'm pretty sure three points for being the home team.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're -3.5 to win. But the ESPN the computer predictor is 66.7 I think percent Tennessee and 33 for the Sooners. Um, Now I understand that they have a pretty solid running back who's good at what he does, but when you face a line like this, man, and like you said, with an O line that isn't that strong, because think about it, NC State, their O line was one of their stronger things on their team. So if you're giving us a line that is considered worse than them, I'd be worried.
Yeah. And for people who are thinking, why are we not talking about why are we overlooking Kent State? Yeah, we are overlooking Kent State. We're 47-point favorites. So no need to worry there. But
I'm
like,
not overlooking them. It's just like not an exciting game to talk about because everyone wants to talk about Josh Heupel going home. You know how happy Josh Heupel would be going into Norman, going 4-0 and leaving his alma mater with the athletic director that he absolutely hates
mhm.
and going into Fayetteville and with a 4-0 record. I mean, there's nothing better. So, yeah, Kent State now I'm not going to say we're going to win by 48. Like, that's a lot of points. But I mean, I expect us to, but I mean, we're going to win that game. There's no question about it. Like, I'm not even like I would bet $1 billion that we would win.
Yeah, I mean, I, just talking about Oklahoma again. Like, we've talked about it for months now. That's the game that if you win can really set you up for a terrific season. But once you get past the Oklahoma game, you got to go to Arkansas, who did end up losing against Oklahoma State, but they looked pretty competitive in that
Very
game.
surprising.
They were winning for a lot of it. They probably should have won the game. I mean, they ran for almost 170 yards in the first half against Oklahoma State. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they ended the game with like 600 yards of offense. So they're a little bit more challenging than we thought they were going to be. At least I think they will be, or Oklahoma State's defense is just that bad. But, you know, I don't know. I think just this performance by Tennessee over the weekend really makes me confident in Tennessee to win until you get to the Georgia game, and then we can even talk about Tennessee losing again. I know that might be an overreaction, but if Tennessee can play like they did on Saturday on defense and the offense continues to get better, I just can't see a world where Tennessee enters Georgia with a loss.
Yeah, I mean, they should be favored in definitely all the home games. Um, like we said, without how Alabama's playing, you never know, they could turn it around, and they do it. It is a talented football team, but it's just the way everything's looking right now. You would think they'd be favored, but Arkansas, you got to realize too, though. I just don't think Oklahoma State's defense is that good because they let Talon Green had 416 passing yards, 61 rushing yards, but he had 18 carries. That dude loves to run the football,
Mm-hmm.
and Tennessee's gonna have to be prepared for that, and I think they will. But they also had a wide receiver. Andrew Armstrong had 10 receptions for 164 yards.
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. But we'll look into that when we'll see how the weeks turn out. Obviously, that's a little bit ways away, and we also have a bye week in between, don't we?
Yeah, we have our first bye week after the Oklahoma game.
Yeah, so we have plenty of time to prepare for them. And honestly, with the way the season looks right now, I think that is literally the perfect bye week because Arkansas could be that game where you're like, oh, they slip up type thing, a trap game. And they have plenty of time to prepare, plenty of time to watch film, rest up, and they should take care of business.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, Jim. I forgot to ask you earlier, but James Pierce didn't record a sack. Are we worried at all about James Pierce, or is the defensive front just eating as a unit?
Well, I'm not worried about him. I mean, he's still James Pierce Jr. He's gonna get his when he gets his because a lot of attention goes to him, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why the others are eating, and he has to he has to be okay with that. And I think he is, because the way he looked on the sideline he was just, they were all vibing, yeah. So, I mean, they're dancing in the third quarter. Like, beginning of the third quarter, you know, flag surfing came on, and they were all doing it together on the field. So, I'm not worried about him. I think he's just getting a lot of attention, and he'll get his when they start giving him one-on-one matchups. So, yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, I think he'll be all right. I don't think it's anything to, just worry about just yet.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be worrisome if NC State moved the ball and scored 30 something points, but they didn't. I mean, we talked about it, how you're going to either double James Pierce and not let him do anything and let the other ones eat, or you're going to not double him and he's going to get his. And I think they opted with, let's pay some more attention to him. And that didn't work out well for them. So, you got anything
So,
else tonight, Jim?
one last thing that just came out. Andy Staples just posted his college football bracketology bracket. Tennessee's sitting at number 6 right now on his bracket. Obviously, it's just a personal opinion right now,
Mm-hmm.
but that would put us playing Missouri to see who goes to play Miami. But Missouri would be coming to Neyland Stadium, and
Oh,
talk
God.
about an electric environment after what happened last year. And I mean, playoff game, what happened last year, honestly, that might be the craziest environment in Neyland Stadium history, in my opinion.
Yeah, a home playoff game in Neyland Stadium against the team that destroyed us last year and bumped their gums about it too. I think
Yeah,
Josh
after
Heupel.
after us beating them or scoring 60 plus on them 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I think Josh Heupel and the team would be more than ready for that
Oh
game.
yeah. Oh yeah, dude. And I'd be there. I any game, any playoff. If we get to host a playoff game, that would be. I feel like that's a crime not to go.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
So
on the
thank
same
God I'm a
page.
season. Thank God we're season ticket holders.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to pay 4 figures to get into that game.
We won't be, but yeah. Other than that, we'll have a game preview for Kent State. Obviously, it's going to be like the Chattanooga game where we won't have much to talk about. I mean, Kent State just lost like 23 to like 18 or something to a nobody school. So even their fan base is like, we're not going to score. Like, and I hope so, because that'd be 3 weeks of no points. And I'd be so ecstatic about that. But anyways, yeah, we'll have a preview here coming up in the next couple days. Hopefully Eli will be able to join us. But that's
Yep.
it. Tennessee's 2-0, taking care of business. People are starting to talk about us, and it's only looking up from here.
Yeah. I just my final thing I'll say is this is how Tennessee football is supposed to be. If for people who were scared that we're now in the top 10, get a grip. For most of Tennessee's, well, I won't say for most, but for a lot of Tennessee history in the last half century, Tennessee has been a hyped up team, and it's about living up to the hype and not folding under it. And luckily, we have a game to tune up for Oklahoma and Kent State, but Tennessee's going to be ready for that game. And that's all I got to say. Go Vols.
Absolutely. Go Vols, baby.